Today we are going to be thread painting using long and short stitch on this colored in area here of an inner ear of a character I'm working on. So let's get familiarized with the space we're going to be thread painting today. You'll see there are 3 different color bubbles or areas that we're going to be working with. There are some vertical black lines that go upward and kind of shift outwards to the right as we go, and these are our directional guidelines. Each of those color bubbles have a different thread color that goes along with them. So in our case, the green is the lightest brown, the orange is the medium brown, and the pink is our darkest brown. I want you to pay special attention to the color bubbles and how they shift. If we hit a spot where, say, it's transitioning from the pink bubble to the orange bubble, you'll see that obviously we're going to need to change colors, but we're still going to have that dark brown over on the right of where the orange starts that we have to transition back to. So one of my tips is I usually have a needle threaded up with each color that I'm going to need, so I'm not constantly rethreading needles when I have to change colors. So let's go ahead and start our thread painting. We're going to bring our needle up just on the outside edge of our black outline of our character where the inner ear starts. And then we're going to bring it down. In this case, our little area is very tiny, so our pink bubble kind of is already going into our orange bubble. So we're going to start at that black line and bring it down just on the inside of the orange bubble. But a reminder when thread painting, we want to variegate our starting and stopping points to create smooth shading transitions. It's how we create that effect of shading. So in order to do that, when transitioning from, say, this pink bubble to the orange bubble, we want to make sure that we're not creating a harsh horizontal line by stopping our stitches at the same point each time. We want to variegate our ending points. So if I can zoom in here, you'll see that it looks close. However, the stopping points are in different spots each time. I try to recommend at least 5 or 6 different stopping points, and I also want to make sure you know that the size of this is deceiving on camera. When you're thread painting, you want to keep your stitches really small and tiny. I recommend keeping them about a half a length of a grain of rice. I know that sounds crazy, but when you're working on a small area, that is super ideal. See, so sometimes our threads go a little bit into the other color bubble, and sometimes they go a little bit less than where our color bubble ends. So that way we can create that shading transition as we discussed. Just a quick insight on long and short stitch. It is a sister stitch to satin stitch, as in they are relatively similar where they work from left to right in rows of stitches. Satin stitch is a very uniform stitch where you start at one point and then stop at another all the way down your row of stitches. So you would start at point A, end at point B, start at point A, end at point B, all the way from left to right. Long and short stitch works similarly, but you would just vary your starting and stopping points with each stitch you make as you work from left to right with your row of stitches. So you would start at point A, end at point B for your first stitch, and then your next stitch would be start at point A and a half and end at point B and a half. And then stitch number 3 would be start at point A and 3/4 and end at B and 3/4, and then maybe you'd shift back to starting at point A and ending at point B. It really is simply just shifting each stitch slightly so you don't have a harsh transition line with your stitches. You don't want your stitches to start and stop in the same spot and create a harsh line. Okay, so starting our second row of stitches, you can see we are in the orange bubble now, so I have changed our color on our needle to the medium brown color. And we are going to bring our first stitch up by bringing our needle through the stitches from our first row. We're going to come up from within those stitches, moving in an upward fashion. We're going to make 1 stitch length forward and back down. And we are going to complete the variegating starting and stopping points as discussed throughout this entire row of stitches and all the way up. Alrighty friends, for the remainder of this thread painting tutorial, I'm going to go on super speed mode so you can see how I work kind of naturally. I will say I have 3 separate needles loaded up with their corresponding threads. So I have one needle with the light brown for the green bubble, I have a second needle with the medium brown for the orange bubble, and I have a third needle loaded up with the dark brown for the pink bubble. And I'm just going to work my way on up and you can check it out. One thing I would like to make very clear is when you are thread painting, the most important thing is that you're stitching down into an unstitched area and not stitching down into an already stitched area. If you pull your needle down through threads that have already been laid down, it creates a hole and it makes your thread painting look rough. So as best as you can, try to avoid doing that. And the last thing I'm going to say to you about thread painting is those black directional guidelines I brought up at the very beginning of the video. I do kind of make my stitches follow alongside of those as I go. So if one of my stitches needs to kind of go inward to create more of a turn inward, then I can overlap some stitches to create that turn. So I can bring my needle up and then kind of shift where I point how my needle ends. So that way I can kind of go with the curve of whatever pattern or look I'm trying to create. Otherwise, I hope this video helped you guys. I hope you have so much fun thread painting. It is fun. It does take some time to get the hang of, but once you do it, man, is it satisfying. Alright, please like and subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thanks!